2012 में ऐसे डर लगता था कि यार ये ऑनलाइन में आएगा नहीं आएगा, बट स्टिल यू मैनेज टू डू a 30 crore revenue in our first year.
In 2012 we started. We truly believe that online only can be a big opportunity and we can eat up 3-4-5% of the overall market. In 2018-19 we had run the company with no money in the bank for almost 3 years. The desire to not fail again, no matter what, was something that kept us going.
Is it true to say that you were the first company to give the browsing experience in the jewelry category?
Very logically, if you think, you cannot browse jewelry in an offline setup. You go there to buy. We created a bank of around 300 designs, then putting them on the website, cataloging, and that is, I think, one of the biggest roadblocks we faced. From factory to store, it's all automated. Everything is decided by machines. Now, for every buyer, I had almost 30 to 40 times non-buyers.
What were certain things that you did differently from all those legacy brands?
Today's generation is actually browsing even on Instagram all the time. Businesses need to change, or business need to serve customers.
लॉकडाउन आपने कैसे सर्वाइव करा, क्योंकि बाइंग नहीं हो रही थी, रेवेन्यू माइट हैव टेकन अ टोल,
But we were profitable because online picked up, and online we were the strongest.
how did you got Ratan Tata sir on your cap table?
We were the actual first company that he invested in.
What did you learn from him?
This point was built for long term, don't just take short term calls.
सर आपने जो बताया था कि गोल्ड की कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल है, that is only 2%. Can a business leverage this fact?
Any business that puts gold to use can leverage it. That was the time when our balance sheet was not so strong, so banks were not ready to take a call on us.
जितना कंजप्शन अमेरिका में, एक इंडिया जितनी पॉपुलेशन goes to that same level of consumption, अर्थ नहीं बचेगी.
I believe that we are at a very beautiful juncture at this time where a lot of new brands are going to be created. The elephant in the room is AI. I think it's a serious threat to human existence.
Maybe it's the right question to ask. Process of deciding equity or debt or mixture of both.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Shivank and we are part of the 01 Network by Zerodha. Together, we intend to bring you insights from the top thinkers in the field of entrepreneurship, technology and investing.
What was Chakpak about? क्या बना रहे थे? What was the problem you were solving?
It was a social network around Indian content. So content-based social networks were common at that time.
Give me example. Give me help me understand better.
In US there's a company called Flickster, which is people would actually, there's Web 2.0 around entertainment content. So in India there was no such service, and then what happens is content-oriented or content-driven social networks are very geography special, right? So the US Flickster won't work, let's say, in India. And there was a company called Common Floor, which was a community of apartment goers. Sumit was building it. So a lot of these things were kind of being built up at that time. So Chakpak was that. Chakpak was a social network built around Indian entertainment content.
What were certain major learnings you had from that?
Huge learning.
Give me a
It's
couple
very
of turnaround
difficult to even summarize, whether it comes to coding and so on. I think one of the things that I carried from that was perseverance, that okay, not to die, because after that 4 years, we sold it to Flipkart, but that was just a distress sale, right? It's not that we made any money, but we returned significant money to the investors. The desire to not fail again or to not stop, no matter what, was something that kept us going in Bluestone all this while, even when there was I think 99.9% people would have written us off. We just kept on and on and on.
And when you mentioned that was a distress sale, what were some learnings from that?
People go in panic attacks, people go in depression also, as in clinical depression also. So we've been through that also, both me and Nitin.
Why do you think it could not scale at that time?
I think monetization was not there. Monetization for content-based service in India was pretty bad, and it continues to be bad.
Bluestone started when you met Vidya ma'am, right?
Yeah, so I was then thinking of doing something in direct commerce. Vidya was also thinking of doing it in jewelry. And I think Prashant from Excel also wanted to fund something in that. So it's kind of, it all came together. So the idea was that Vidya would take care of the business side of it. I would take care of tech and marketing, which is what was always my interest also. Forte and interest both was. It did not work out, so Vidya had to leave. Vidya left after 4 months of starting.
Okay.
So then we continued with it. We just once started. I told you perseverance.
Yes. But how did you meet? How did you come? कि मुझे retail space में
So looked at okay, I was not exposed to that space. I was not married, so never entered a jewelry store. So you also would not.
Yes.
You would need to enter when you get married, but not till then.
Yes.
So I had no idea, no clue about this. But when I spoke to Vidya, then I started looking at this category. I was looking at a lot of other categories also at that time. But then this made sense that the category was huge. The margins were good. Monetization was something that had bitten me in the last company also. So here I wanted to make sure that the profits and everything is there. Profit pool is there. So all those questions were answered. I think the biggest question was that would people buy something so expensive?
That too
Like jewelry online. So is it fine? We'll find the answer to that. So that's it. That was everything cannot be answered when you're starting a startup.
Never been to the jewelry store. मम्मी के साथ जरूर गया हूँ तनिष्क और इन सब में. But I love the name Bluestone. It's so, elegant. It gives a very good vibe. How did you end up deciding the name?
So I think some of it was Vidya's idea also, but in generally wanted the name to be not very Indian, not very ethnic. Idea was because we wanted to build something for the newer generation and something which does not kind of exudes legacy, not that kind of a thing. Right? We wanted to build something more new age. Right, the name of the company also at that time was New Age E-Commerce Private Limited. At that time there was also thought that okay, and we did not want it to be very jewelry because we thought that okay, we might actually end up doing we might decide to do few other things also. So we wanted that flexibility. Plus, I think name is something that grows over time.
Right.
It's not something you don't have to be so desperate to get that like Apple. If you make computer, you don't have to write CompSoft kind of a thing. Right? Don't have to be so cheesy and so direct about names. Names you can pick any name and you can actually build on top of that.
2011. What was your first product, sir?
What we always did first, we made a website.
ठीक है. Right.
Like 2 months flat, we made a functional website.
उस website पे क्या आपने डाला?
Yeah, so basically then the cataloging. So we decided. So we were clear that we would have our own set of designs. That it's not a marketplace model; it's a brand model. So we would have our own stuff, our own.
Why not a marketplace model and a brand model?
Because marketplace does not work in case of fine jewelry. The level of trust, etc., that is needed is very high. The value of a large selection is very low. Because if let's say 2 million rings are in front of are on a website, it doesn't make any difference because you won't go for 2 million rings. You would have to look at 200,000 pages. You are not going to spend time on 200,000 pages if you don't like anything in 4 pages.
Right.
So if you are going to like something in 4 pages, why even have those many pages? So jewelry is not a pull category.
It's a push.
Books is a pull category. So books you can have 100 million books also, but if you need a book, you know the name of that book and you'll pull out that book.
And get it. Huh?
Right? Jewelry is not. You don't, if I have 200,000 rings, people won't know the name of 200,000 rings.
Right.
They will say gold and diamond ring.
Huh.
Right? So then the quality of catalog is a lot more important than the depth of catalog, which is not what works in case of marketplace.
Got it.
And then the kind of trust and the quality and reliability you need to build, marketplace is actually totally untied to that. If you look at marketplace, someone is selling something. If I would build a marketplace and someone was selling some jewelry and there was not enough gold in that,
you lose the credibility.
Right? I'll have to just kind of, I would have ended up spending all my time between this and that person. And then the credibility would have taken a toss. And then fine jewelry won't work because people are generally very, very afraid. The quality of so it's a category where the cost of error is very high. Right, so you need a lot more relevant. That is a need for that. That is why a brand is needed there. It's not a service provider game. For something, if you're buying for 400 rupees, you're like fine, even if it comes out defective next time, I won't buy from you. But if you're buying a house, the last thing you want is what if comes to a defective or that thing. So hence you tend to kind of fall, or you tend to trust the brands more. Same for hospital also.
Right.
The cost of error when you're going for an operation is extremely high. In the category, the frequency is low and the cost of error is high. Brand plays a very important role.
Makes sense.
And the quality of so essentially those are few of the fundamental premises because of which we decided to do this. So we created a bank of around 300 designs.
और ये डिजाइन्स आपने खुद बनाई, कहाँ से आपने सोर्स करी थी डिजाइन?
So out of those around 150 or maybe the half of that we had a team of designers who created. And then we worked with some of the manufacturers or job workers who also had a catalog. So we said, okay, we'll pick these, we'll buy out these designs from you. So that is, and then we got them manufactured also from them. So that is essentially how we got the first lot of 300 designs. So we use a filter of what kind of designs you want to operate with. So we had those 300 designs and then putting them on the website, cataloging it. And that is, I think, one of the biggest roadblock we faced. So when we tried to photograph those products, we just could not photograph those products beautifully. Jewelry being jewelry, so gold is a reflecting surface. It sends the light back. Diamond is a refracting surface that let the light passes through. How do you photograph such a thing? Right? You can photograph an opaque object easily, but reflecting and refracting are two of the most difficult surfaces to actually photograph.
तो
And
अभी
on top,
कैसे करते हैं इतनी सुंदर जो
so
फोटो?
it's all 3D rendering. None of that.
It's not the actual.
Those are not photographs.
God,
That's the only way of presenting it beautifully.
ये आपको तब नहीं पता था कि रेंडरिंग होगी.
No, we did in 2012 itself. We stopped. We delayed the launch by 2 months.
ठीक है.
So we tried photography for around 15-20 days, and then I saw the result, and the photograph was like, "I'll do it. I'll just give me some time. I'll do the touch up on Photoshop." And then he did touch up, and he showed 2 products. Like, they are so heavily touched up. Why did he even take a photo in the first place?
Right.
We just created in Photoshop. It was all horribly bad. So I said, "There's no way we can launch the website with these designs."
Right.
And honestly, we were in a category where we were selling photos. We were selling images.
Right. वही influence करेगा.
That is the only decision-making criteria, the criteria that will actually influence anyone's decision. So if that is not beautiful, then no one would buy it anyway. So what's the point? So then we looked around. So I realized, I told you I had already written some games of Facebook.
Right.
So I'd already had experience with 3D modeling and 3D rendering.
Got it.
So I said, if Zynga could sell a castle in Farmville for $25, which
Showing a
digital asset, showing a photo which created in 3D,
Why can't I
do the same thing?
और फिर वो आपने कैसे करी? रेंडरिंग खुद करी थी या किसी को आउटसोर्स कराया था?
No, so in Chakpak, my previous company, I had a team which was doing 3D rendering. So I called them, "You're needed again. Come back." So they all came back. So they said, "Fine, let's go at it."
300 डिजाइन का आपने रेंडर करके अपनी वेबसाइट पे डाल दिया.
That's right. So that was the first cut.
If I'm not wrong, so I'm facing a dilemma कि 2011 में बहुत कम इंटरनेट यूजर्स हैं. लोगों को 2012 में बहुत कम इंटरनेट यूजर्स हैं. लोगों को ऑनलाइन में ट्रस्ट ही नहीं है, क्योंकि मेरे को याद है बुक्स भी जब खरीदते थे तो ऐसा डर लगता था कि यार ये ऑनलाइन में आएगा या नहीं आएगा. बट स्टिल यू मैनेज टू डू a 30 crore revenue in our first year. Is that true?
No, so first year I think was 6 crore. Okay, so that's 12-13. By 14-15 we would have done 30 crore.
Okay.
So third year I think we did 30 crore, which is year 2014.
6 करोड़ रुपए जो पहले साल में आए थे, कैसे आए थे सर? How did you market the website? How did you grow the brand? How did you build the trust?
So it's okay. So we knew how to get traffic from Google, Facebook, etc. We were doing that for a very long time. So getting the people in was not difficult. I think it was the selling. It was the differentiation of the designs and the uniqueness of the designs that actually got people to buy from us.
Okay.
And the same story, the average selling price at that time, I think was around 13,000-14,000. So more like, I like this design so much. Let me buy it. But almost everyone who bought at that time was extremely fearful and extremely apprehensive.
यार आएगा क्या?
आएगा भी कि नहीं आएगा, और आएगा तो गोल्ड होगा कि नहीं. We used to get that a lot.
तो आपने उसको कैसे सॉल्व करा?
We could not solve it. I'm saying all this was design. I said, let the designs create such a strong pull. People will buy it.
So first, for how many years were you doing this, and what were some challenges? जैसे आपने एक रेंडरिंग का चैलेंज बोला, उसके बाद दूसरे साल में क्या चैलेंज आया, तीसरे साल में चैलेंज क्या है? How are you growing?
Sequentially, lots and lots of things sequentially. Then and I'll just tell you about some of the biggest ones.
Sure.
So after that, what we realized was that as we are increasing our offerings, we cannot inventorize everything because the cost of inventory in our case is very, very high. Gold and diamond. So we thought, okay, then we would actually do just-in-time manufacturing. So once we receive the order, after that we would actually manufacture it and then send it. And we worked with some of the existing mid-sized manufacturers that, okay, you manufacture it for us. I had been told a lot of things that, okay, this is, you will give us, let's say, 30 orders of 30 different pieces. We are not used to it. We are used to batch processing, bulk processing of the multiple pieces of the same design, etc., etc. So lots of, and that you generally see, you'll see everyone just saying no to whatever you want, because whatever you're proposing is not something that had been done before. Not that it's not possible, it's just that people believe it's not possible.
It's just the mental...
It's a mental block. So few agreed to work with us, but the delivery time was like 3 to 4 weeks.
हाँ, क्योंकि आप ऑर्डर दोगे उसके बाद में
उसके बाद they said they would take 3 to 4 weeks. And so we operated with that for around 5-6 months. So the delivery timelines were high, were very long anyways, but we thought, okay, with scale, we'll push them, we'll bring it down. And then there are other problems also. So the reliability was not there in the sense that there's a specification. I've already sold a photo. Now the piece that you're making has to be exactly same as that photo. Now it's the
little bit be different hoga to फिर
it should not be, right? So now there are two things. One is visual difference cannot be there. So if it's something with, let's say, 5 petals and each petal has 5 diamonds, you cannot have few with 4 and few with 5.
और उसमें पर्पल कलर का दिख रहा है तो वो पर्पल का ही होना चाहिए.
वैसे ही दिखना चाहिए. So that was that. And then the second thing, which is again very peculiar to our category, is, let's say, our pricing of product is component-based pricing. So it has 5 grams of gold, hence the pricing is this much. Now when you're manufacturing it, if you make it in 6 grams of gold, what do? I can't go to a customer and say,
ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा लग गया सोना.
Yeah, if it's made in 4 grams, then also you actually are in a fix. So that reliability was not there. And in the physical retail, that was not even needed, because if you make it in 6, sell it for 6. You price it after you make it. Here I'm pricing it and then making it. So there was some, I think, delta average standard deviation was around 20-25%. I said, this is not doable. But like almost everything, they also did not change. So we said, we'll do our own manufacturing. So we had set up our own factory.
खुद की मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करने से क्या फायदा होता है आपको? You would be able to control all those.
Solve all those problems. We brought that standard deviation down to +-2%. We brought the manufacturing timelines down from 3 to 4 weeks to 3 days.
Because you had the control, you had control over entire process of manufacturing.
And we enabled it. We enabled it through processes, through technology, through everything. It's just problem solving.
Right.
But fine, let's do it, because see, if you go by the fundamental physics, then a piece can be manufactured in 24 hours also.
Makes sense. और जो first जो 300 आपके SKUs थे, वो जो 300 ring, that was ring only?
Earring and pendants.
Earring and pendants. So what?
Non-size rings. The problem in ring is sizing. So that's why we launched with non-sized.
Okay.
Pendants and earrings don't have.
जिसमें size की दिक्कत नहीं होती है. Got it. What was the natural progression of the SKUs? आपने किस चीज में खोला उसके बाद? Ring, pendant के बाद how were you
So earrings, pendants were the first 2 categories, then rings. Then I think men's categories also was there, some kids product also. But I don't actually remember the category wise progress. But we started adding lots and lots of categories.
जब हम ज्वेलरी ब्रांड में होते हैं, तो ज्वेलरी में भी there is man jewelry and then woman one. इसमें भी you associate some brands with women or a man. But
there is no brand for men's jewelry in India.
There is no brand. Do you think there is a opportunity for that?
I think there can be.
Are you trying to solve for it as well?
No, but there is another company called Drip Project that is actually doing a good job of it. So I think it is a game. It need not be a gold and diamond heavy game. It should be more open. It should not be about, let's say, just gold and diamond jewelry.
Like spectacles.
I think it can. So it can use different material also. You can use steel, you can use leather, you can use a lot of stuff. But I'm saying create something designer for men, which are generally, the men have been treated very badly generally in jewelry stores. Like you want something, here are 4 rings. Ek challa, there's one 3x3 diamond grade and 4x4 diamond grade. Just according to your budget, pick one. There's no design. There's just budget and amount of gold.
Right, of course. Right, आपने बताया कि these two were the main problems, and the natural solution was कि you have your own manufacturing facility.
Yeah,
right.
Lots of people advise against it. Manufacturing is manufacturing. That is the only logical solution I can find of this problem. So let's try it.
कौन सी year में आपने खोली?
By 2014, all the manufacturing was.
2 साल में.
By December 2013, I think the factory started operation.
Got it. और आपने बॉम्बे में खोला था?
Yeah.
First manufacturing. Yeah. How much capital did you put in back then?
For first factory, less than 1 crore.
Okay.
Hardly any capital. We took all India-made machines, etc. So basically, we cut corners wherever we could in terms of capex, etc.
Got it. And you opened the manufacturing facility. What were some other problems that you faced after these 2 things?
So third is actually then the channel thing, where we went from online only to omnichannel. So essentially,
that came in 2018.
2016 was when we became clear that there's an omnichannel game, or omnichannel game is lot stronger. So by around 2014 factory, I would say, after that scale up, as in a lot of focus was setting up and scaling up factory, also in general scaling up of business, getting to more and more categories, more marketing, etc. But I think 2016 when we keep on speaking to our users pretty regularly. In 2016, one of those conversations and one of those surveys, we did that with buyers also, non-buyers also. So
What non-buyers? मतलब first time.
How we define non-buyers was people who actually spent considerable time or significant time on the website,
but ended up not
buying. So they had the same browsing behavior as buyers,
but they did not
did
a
not
transaction.
buying, and end result was buying. So when we spoke to buyers, we asked them, why did you buy? So number one reason was design. 86% people said.
Design में क्या?
They love the design.
Okay, they love
So buyers, I'm talking about buyers, not non-buyers.
Okay.
So 86% of the people said that they bought because they love the design. 9% people said choices. We could actually go through so many of these. And 3% said price, 1% said convenience. Which is very, very different from any e-commerce. Any e-commerce price convenience is typically 70-80%. So which also pointed in the direction that it's a brand game. Now for every buyer, I had almost 30 to 40 times non-buyers. So if 10 people were buying, there was at least 400 who had the same amount of browsing but not buying. We spoke to them. They said, we are browsing because we absolutely love the design. Very logically, if you think, you cannot browse jewelry in an offline setup because it's a high pressure setup. You go there to buy. You'll be asked your budget. You'll be asked your category. You'll be given a chair, tea, cold drink, and then right. So you don't have an aisle kind of an experience like you have in apparel, clothes, etc. That you go and no one is asking any questions, and you can just look at skim through all the merchandise which is laid in those aisles. Jewelry is still a counter setup, which used to be the case in every category, but in jewelry it continues to be the case. So jewelry cannot be browsed. You only go to a store to browse. You don't go to a store and say, I'm just here to check out. And you can't go there every week, every weekend.
Right.
The guard after 4 weeks won't allow you.
They would entertain you.
No one would entertain you. So the only way you could actually browse was online, which is where the behavior has started shifting significantly. And because you presented in a beautiful fashion, so people were able to meaningfully browse it. They said, we love the designs, and that's why we are browsing. But then it said, why are you not buying? So the number one reason was price and touch and feel. How can I buy something so expensive without touching and feeling it? Number two reason was the whole servicing aspect, that let's say 3 years down the line, if my ring size changes, if a diamond chips off, if I need any modification in this, where would I go? Because the jeweler is the one who does that also. And third was that if few years down the line, I want to exchange this for a newer design, which is a behavior common in this category, where would I, how would I do that? So it was kind of very clear to us that the solution to that is a store. I can't solve for all those problems online. So, and then the hypothesis that we are actually considering the business to 1 to 2.5% of it, or let's say 3% of it, or the actual size of the business is actually 40 times what we're doing right now if you solve for these problems. So we went about solving that problem by opening stores. So that essentially
was life changing. Got it. And पहला store आपने खोला था Pacific Mall.
Pacific Mall.
Delhi में.
July of 2018.
You were in Bangalore only? Your office was in Bangalore?
My office was in Bangalore.
Why did you choose to open in Delhi then?
We were looking for a location here. We were not getting it, and then we had 3 or 4 locations open.
Got it.
Pacific Mall was one of those. So we got that and we opened that.
Got it. शुरुआत में आपने बताया था कि इस कैटेगरी में there are lots of legacy brands, right? But you were still able to, make a brand out of what were certain things that you did differently from all those legacy brands?
I think legacy brand had been doing what they have been doing for a very long time, and they're successfully doing it. Right. So there are stores, single store that do 1,000 crore also. In our category. Okay. Don't know if I can name it or not, but there's one in Chennai. Okay. Today's consumers, today's generation is actually browsing even on Instagram all the time, on TikTok all the time. So you don't give them that browsing, they're not going to. And again, that's a very strong statement. I'm saying even then, we have only 0.2% of market share, even right now. Right. So there's a lot that we trade out, but I'm saying consumers, so businesses need to change, or business need to serve customers. According to their changing needs and their changing behaviors, and not vice versa. So a lot of the existing ones are also going to move to that. They are also going to become better at that, but we were just way ahead. Is it true to say that you were the first company to give the browsing experience in the jewelry category? We were. Okay. We were. And that's so here's the thing. Everyone had a website, but if that website is in Flash, then you can't browse it.
Right.
If the photos are so bad that it feels like a piece of scrap,
Right.
then you won't browse.
Got it.
Right? It has to look beautiful. So basically, we solved for all those things. So we made the browsing meaningful. We were the first ones.
शुरुआत में आपने एक और बात बताई थी कि there were some decisions that you took in the starting, and then there were some decisions that you took in the 2016 to 18 wala calls that were orbital, that was very crucial for the business. What were those decisions, sir?
This omnichannel, I think, is what we discussed about. We're learning that, okay, this is so. When in 2012 we started, we truly believed that online only can be a big opportunity, and we can eat up, let's say, 3, 4, 5% of the overall market. And I still believe that almost 7 to 10% of the market will move online.
Okay, why?
Even in 10 to 15 years, but it would still be. But it's going to be that, okay, every brand has 7 to 10% of the business coming from online. It's not Amazon kind of a service provider that they are selling. No one would have 100% share of the 7%.
Got it.
It would more be that everyone's 7% sale is coming from online.
ठीक है. 2018 you decide कि हम store खोलेंगे. July 2018 first आपने store खोला. What was the natural progression? What was the first biggest challenge that you faced while opening a store?
Just opening it was challenge. It was just not getting complete.
ऐसा क्यों रहा था? कहाँ पर रुक गए?
That's how it is. I mean, if you buy a house and you try to construct that house, you know that the timelines would actually go for it.
वो painter बोलेगा 1 महीना लगाएगा 2 महीने.
That's how things are, right? So it was just getting delayed. I think it took some 65, 70 days, whereas just for the construction of it, we were also doing it for the first time. So
right.
There's no hard feelings there. But so I went and I stationed myself also in Delhi. So I lived there for almost a month. Would go to the store every day to see how the construction is going on. So I took an Oyo there for almost a month. Just stayed there. And
any feedbacks for Oyo? A lot. So, ठीक है. First store में, what were some challenges that you faced? How did you solve for that?
मतलब basically they were just doing they need to do the flooring. They need water for that, and they could only do flooring in the night because during day the mall does not allow it. So it would be night, and then they would say there's no water because no one filled the water in the daytime for the job to be done in the night. And night there was no water. So this is going on for 3 days.
ठीक है.
Right, just reasons to not work are plenty. So then me, Samir, who was also with me, few of us, we actually got the STP water to them in the store and said, do it.
कर लो यार. हाँ, ठीक है. Got it. First store आपने खोला. उसके बाद how did you decide कि हम second store कहाँ पर खोलेंगे? और उसमें
wherever. So we opened. So initial ones we started opening with just inventory of just, let's say, 1.5 crore. So maybe in 2 crore, but then that needed to be expanded. So then we started talking to a lot of malls, and obviously no mall was actually just giving us any power. So whoever gave us space, we opened there. That's it. Whichever space they gave, whichever floor it was, whichever mall it was, so we were not choosy. So they were I think 2 in Punjab, in Chandigarh. Because obviously they were not doing great businesses. You take it. The ones that were doing phenomenal business did not give us space.
ये हर एक ब्रांड में चैलेंज होती है जब भी वो मूव करना करते मॉल्स में. सो मॉल्स में उनको फर्स्ट फ्लोर नहीं दिया जाता, वो 4th फ्लोर पे दे देंगे. और
because they are also not very certain about that. So either you cough up so much money or minimum guarantees.
कि यार मैं इतना फुटफॉल लेके आऊंगा. अगर आपको दोबारा चीज करनी होती है एक नए ब्रांड के साथ, how would you negotiate with the real estate owners?
No, but now we have relationships. Now we have 200. As a company, if I already have 200, 300 stores,
right?
Then if I am doing a new store, it's not a big deal.
But if you were to do it again, if a young founder who is watching and needs a space in a mall, in a good mall, how will they negotiate with the real estate owners, and how would they build relationship? You have relationship now, but अगर मुझे आज खोलना है, how would I go about it?
It would be difficult. I would say that top ones would be very difficult to crack anyways. So you go to some other malls. There are those malls which are like standalone single malls, which are not with some firm. They are easier to talk to. Okay. They are easier to negotiate to, like Sharat City Mall in Hyderabad. Right? There's no group. It's just
one standalone. Got it.
So those are easier to deal with. Pacific also, for that matter, they only have 3 malls, I think. So these guys are much easier to deal with. So you actually start with them. Once you have certain proof points, certain numbers, etc., it becomes easier. Okay. Every next one would be easier than the previous one.
Got it. जो आपने स्टोर खोले थे, आपने बताया था कि हमारे पास पैसे नहीं थे, and then you operated for the franchisee model. How did you figure the franchisee model? What were some learnings from that? And what
so we were the first ones to actually do that kind of a model, because otherwise the franchisee model used to be where the franchisee would also sit in the store and run the store,
Right.
and do the investments, sit in the store. Now I was strictly against allowing franchisees to sit in the store, because those were very early days for us. So the SOPs for the store, how the stores needed to, what should be the technology, should the inventory be used for online fulfillment, should it not be, so how much inventory should be there, what kind of categories, etc. should be there. I think it was, like in any new experiment, the first initial period is a very high learning phase. Now, if you put someone there already, that person would actually stop allowing you any changes, can potentially do that, and you would have to convince that person for everything. Right now, there's otherwise you can actually do 4 changes in a day, and then you'll be able to do maybe 1 change in 4 months. So I said there's no way we are involving them operationally, but for capital we need them. So we created a structure wherein we would only take capital from them, and we would give them a share of revenue.
Okay, or for that particular store.
For that particular store, and we also promise them minimum guarantee in order to make it easier to sign them up. We said, whatever investment you are doing, we guarantee that if the margin on sale is lower than, let's say, 15% of your investment, we'll still make it 15%. So for them, it became a fixed return investment with a potential of an upside. And for us, it solved the problem.
कितने stores आपके पास थे तब आप franchisee model पे गए थे तो?
So we started 5 stores when we started talking to them. Not 5. So first one we signed up in April of 2009 or around that. So at that time we had 5 or 6 stores. So then that was 2019. Yeah. So April of 2019. So we opened 5 stores, but we had no capital. So then we found franchisees, offloaded those 5 stores, then had capital for 5 more stores. So then opened 5 more stores. So it was the same capital would just...
Got it. What were some challenges you faced to convince the first set of franchisees?
Huge. No one would actually believe us because no one knew who you were and so on. So
कैसे आपने convince करा?
So I think few of the folks in my company, they had some past relationships also. And I think few of these folks had an experience of buying from Bluestone or from General, that they are good people, they are not kind of fraudulent people and so on. So basis that, I think once that thing was out, because the model was actually a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. So we signed, first 5, 10 we signed. After that, once they actually worked with us for 5, 6, 7 months and saw the clarity of intent, saw the clarity of processes, etc., they became our our ambassadors, and they would speak to other folks. They would have someone's cousin. So typically rich people have rich relatives also.
Got it.
So that's how it grew. And that was, so by next year, we were able to grow to around 15 stores.
Which year was this?
March of 2020.
15 stores you are at March of 2020?
And COVID hit.
No jewelry buying.
No jewelry buying, anything. So there was one of our investors, LP, was actually giving 5 million to us in January, February. The paperwork was taking time.
In his personal capacity?
From a separate vehicle, but not directly.
Got it.
And he was not just us, there were 5 other companies from the same investor who were actually getting money from
that LP,
that particular vehicle. Now that LP or the major investor in that vehicle, he said that 4 are fine, but we can't give money to them because luxury is dead now that COVID has come. And that was, I told you, I'm not new to what happened with domestic thing. It's very common for me. Things not happening in the last moment is very common. These are the, I've already told you about 2 of these, and these 2 are not, there are more.
Okay. Give me
such cases, I can't. Beyond these, I can't. But there are more of such cases. So in that case, we did not get that 5 million also, which we thought that it's all sorted now, that we have 15 stores, unit economics is right. It was not enough to convince externals because none of the stores had completed even 1 year. But internal actually convincing their LP and putting some more money was the right thing to do, was good thing to do. I was very grateful. I am very grateful still to them that they put the effort. And then that it happened for the other 4 companies, and for us not happened. Then again, I told you Prashant and Samir,
Give you the bridge funding.
They gave the bridge funding.
Got it.
Another thing that we did at that time, and that was kind of a call I took, was in March. So our inventory is gold, right? And typically what happens is we keep all this gold hedged. So which essentially means that I take this gold from bank. We actually procure gold from banks. But I keep my margin money with them. So instead of buying, and then, it's okay, so it's a little complicated.
Please help us understand. We want to understand this complex thing.
So there's something called gold metal loan, which banks give to jewelers. So essentially what happens is I can borrow gold from bank.
What are these banks? These are all state banks of India.
But there are 20 banks in India. All the major banks have this product. So I can borrow gold from them, and then I can sell it and then pay them when I sell it.
Got it.
Okay. And when I'm borrowing it, I am borrowing in weight of gold, not in value of gold. So my inventory risk is 0 because my asset liability both move hand in hand.
Right.
So suppose today I borrowed 100 kgs of gold, and 4 months down the line I sold this, and by that time the gold had gone up by 20%.
So मैं उस 20%
I'll pay the bank also additional 20%. But if it goes down by 20%, I'll also pay the bank that day's rate. So the rate at which I sold to my customer is the same rate at which I pay to my bank also. So I'm naturally hedged.
Right.
And the cost of this borrowing is 2% per annum.
2% per annum, which is very low.
Which is very low. So it's a beautiful product.
So banks, instead of getting money, can other businesses get loan on gold because the cost of capital?
That's the right way of building this business. And we are actually progressing in that direction.
Wow.
So now that was the time when our balance sheet was not so strong. So banks were not ready to take a call on us. So they were not. So this is a credit call. Right. They give me this much gold. So I can't take a credit call, but I can give you hedging. So you do an FD with me, or you put a margin money with me for 100 rupees, and then you can borrow gold up to 100 rupees. So this gives me hedging. So all the gold that we had was borrowed gold, and there were FDs parked against all the gold.
Okay.
Which is in a way encumbered. So it's not that that's free cash for me. But let's say if I have 60 crore of gold on my balance sheet or with me, there would be corresponding 60 crore of FD with bank also.
Right. My FD. So unka hedge
which is their security. Now I think everyone sensed that we were going into a lockdown, or we are going into an uncertain phase.
Right.
Actually, this was even before the lockdown. And we realized that the business is going to be disrupted. So we'll not be able to sell this gold.
Right.
But if the gold rate changes, I'll have to increase the margin money with the bank.
Right. 60 crore से ज़्यादा करना पड़ेगा.
Exactly. So if the gold increases and I only have 5-6 crore in the bank, I only had that much money in the bank for the longest time. So I don't have the money to cover the margin. And then gold was actually at around, I think internationally it was around 1300 per ounce or whatever that is, which was significantly lower. The gold could not fall more than 10 to 15%, because if you look at historical numbers, it was in 10 years it had never reached that mark.
Right.
But on the higher side, there is no limit. Right? Lower side, there's always a limit.
Right.
But higher side could go, and if it goes higher, I would have to deposit more margin money.
And gold is also inversely proportional to the stock market. So
but we had no clue what's going to happen. But I know that 1400 can, on the lower side, can go down to 1300, but on the higher side can go to 2000, 3000, whatever it is.
Uncertain times mein people buy gold.
Right. So I said we are not in a position to actually hold this position, because if by the time we come out of it, if all my money is sucked into margin money, I won't have money to do business. So I said, break the hedge. So when I break the hedge, what would happen is if gold plunges, I'll have a P&L hit. But I won't have an existential hit. My cash is preserved.
वो पैसे रहेंगे.
So I can actually continue my business. I can take a one-time P&L hit of, let's say, 10 crore. If that 60 crore became 50 crore,
10 crore
then 10 crore का inventory loss हो गया मेरा.
Right.
But if that 60 crore became 100 crore, I would have to put 40 crore more with the bank on margin money. Because this gold could not move at that time.
Right.
I could not sell that gold.
Exactly.
So it would have sucked all my money. So I So we took the call of actually breaking that hedge.
हाँ.
So we said break those FD and payment done.
कितने की FD थी वो 60 crore की?
Maybe, I don't remember the number, but it was a significant number. And then in those 7 months, gold moved up. So our P&L was profitable because of inventory movement. Right? And thankfully, the best part is essentially our money did not get sucked in. So I think that was an important decision and a quick decision. Like we did that in one day. After deciding. The day we sensed it, we did it in one day. So that was it. And then in between lockdowns, we kept on opening more. And we kept on signing franchise even during the lockdown.
Lockdown आपने कैसे survive करा? क्योंकि buying नहीं हो रही थी. Revenue might have, taken a toll.
Yeah, but we were profitable because online picked up. And online we were the strongest.
Got it.
And we only had 15 stores, right? So hit was on 15 stores. But online was still bigger than offline at that time. The jump in online was more than the drop in offline.
Got it.
Okay, so we somehow managed to run our factories and some of the things. So we were actually profitable during the entire lockdown. Just that the stores data became very patchy. So even when we had 60 stores and we went to investors, 60, 70 stores, and showed them the data, they said, what is year-on-year growth? I said, this is the data. This quarter 0, this quarter this, next quarter 0, this quarter this, before that nothing. I said, we can't understand the data. Is it pent-up demand? I said, maybe, may not be. I know as much as you do. So that also created a bit of a problem in kind of... Otherwise, had it not been for COVID, 2 years, it would have been a significant proof point. Statistical proof point would have been there. Which got kind of messed up.
Got it.
Because of COVID. But we were operators, so we could sense what's happening. So we never stopped. So in year after that, which was half the year was in lockdown, that 15 number became, we opened 19 more, 36.
और ये जो first 15 थे, metro cities में थे sir?
Initial were all in metros. There was Guwahati also, there was Mohali, Chandigarh, a few exceptions, but...
Movements are, this target audience को आप भेज रहे हो. Give me 5 most unique consumers.
5 is just...
Give me top 3.
Stop using numbers. I don't know. Okay, so I'll talk about whatever I can think of. I think... So the target audience in our case is essentially, what we have seen is 25 to 45-year-old women couples. Okay, so one of the insights is around this is essentially we said in the beginning we thought that okay, even the younger ones should come, right? But then we realized that until a girl gets married, so however independent a girl is, until she gets married, her gold and diamond jewelry shopping is typically done with moms. So she might buy a 30,000 purse herself. She might buy something else also.
But jewelry decision,
mother would always have a say, and mother would always have a relationship.
Right.
So
with some jeweler.
Which she has been buying for 30 years. So until she gets married, it's more a mother buying for her rather than she buying. So that's why
आप influence नहीं कर सकते.
And that's okay. That's okay. Because they've been with someone for 25 years, it's perfectly fine. And boys don't care about jewelry, right? For them, it's nothing. So essentially, that's why none of our buyers or our user base had a very, very small percentage of people less than 25. Mainly started from age of around 25 plus. So we realized that the average age of marriage in India is actually
25.
Somewhere around 25 for girls. And I think on the higher side, when we started the business, beyond 35, we were finding it difficult. Because I think the familiarity and comfort with internet was low for that age group. In 2014, I'm saying. Right? So 25 to 35 used to be at TG, which is now 25 to 45 for obvious reasons. Because that 35-year-old is now 45. So it will become 55, it will become 60, 65.
Right.
So that is essentially how we're growing the market, not by going backwards and saying let's convert them also, but they'll become mothers and grandmothers naturally. So that is one. I think another thing that people talk a lot about is, okay, so they are independent women. I say they are working women. But I said working and independence are two different things. So,
why?
No, because in many of the culturally, especially nuclear families, even when you're when you're living together as a couple, even if she's not working, she has respect and she has a lot of independent decision making, which is not the case in joint families. Let's say not as much, but I think move from independent or joint to nuclear family was also giving rise to this thing.
Got it.
And in many of the cases, they don't work because they don't need to work also.
True. Got it.
Right. So I think, and culturally, I think taking care of kids, taking care of home, etc., is something which does not make a woman less independent, is what I'm saying, or less worthy of anything. So essentially, that is those are the insights. Typically, nuclear families. Another thing was that very strong point for us is wherever there's more migrant population, that pocket of the city works even better for us.
क्योंकि migrant जहाँ पुराना नेटिव होता है वहाँ पर तो relationships होती हैं.
Exactly. In new cases, so if, for example, Pune works better than, let's say, Bombay.
हाँ, क्योंकि पुणे में लोग आते हैं काम करने के लिए.
Exactly. In Bombay में a lot of people would be living there for generations. So wherever there's a same for Noida also, same from South Bangalore, rather over North Bangalore would work better. So a lot of these.
Got it. This is insightful. Store economics में आप कैसे काम करते हो, sir? How much time does it take for a store to become break even?
Mostly our stores are profitable in second or third month itself. So it's just, you're not too worried about it. And that's why I'm saying, that's why we are able to move that fast.
Because ज़्यादा inventory भी आपको नहीं चाहिए होती है. Do you still operate on कि first you give the order and then we'll make it and sell?
No, it's all inventory led right now. But the same factories actually replenish the inventory much faster.
Got it.
So it's the efficiency is giving results somewhere else.
Got it.
But we inventorize.
Sir, आपने जब सुदीप सर को as a co-founder, elevate करा था, help me understand what was the thought process behind that? And once when you do that a PR activity, do you also, when you elevate someone as a co-founder, is it only a title? Is it equity also? Or what goes behind sharing the position?
I'll tell you the reason for that. So essentially, when we grew the company, or when we made that move from online only to omnichannel, and from like a near dead company to a thriving company, two people who were instrumental in this whole thing were Sudeep and me. So before we could do this, I had to fire everyone.
Why?
Because we did not have money to support anyone. It was just not. In 2017, we had a cash burn of around 6-8 crore a month. And we knew that we had to get to omnichannel. We knew that there was unnecessary organization also. So it's not that there was an organization that got created thinking that this online itself will go like that, but it was not going to be. Plus, I was not too happy with the way we had built the organization. There was lots of wrong people also. But I'm saying, so one is, let's say, firing people who are not kind of right fit for the job. And second is going even deeper than that. Because I knew that this much... So online is going to be where it is. New stores need to be opened and so on and so forth. But if you need to survive, you need to bring the
people cost down.
Bring that burn down significantly. Numerator is same. What the money I have in bank. Denominator is the
thing that
right? So the only thing, numerator I could not change. So denominator was only in my hand. So essentially, for example, we cut down our monthly manpower bill from 4.5 crore to 1.1 crore. So that's the extent of cut down. So in my marketing team, we had 0 people. 0. I'm saying absolute 0. In my engineering team, we had 4 people. When we built all these systems, point of sale, etc., it was just 4 people team.
Wow.
Marketing I did myself. And same is the case with almost every department. So there's just 2 people, Sudeep and myself, who did everything between the two. There wasn't top and then executioners. There's no one.
Middle management.
There was no middle management. There's nothing. Be it running factory, which Sudeep would run. Be it making a store, which Sudeep would make. Be it franchise signing, which Sudeep would sign. Be it developing this thing, point of sale, etc. I had a 4 people engineering team with, I think, 3 of them 2-year experience, 1-year experience. I would sit them with them, code with them, and so on. I would do all the Facebook marketing, Google marketing myself, and so on. So that's how we grew it. And Sudeep, there's no point kind of creating a percentage who did what, etc., etc. But I honestly believe that Sudeep had a bigger role to play on in that. And I think during that process, which is very brutal, morally also, I think Sudeep held much more strongly than I also did. So I'm saying during those times of crisis also you see the strength and so on of the people. So I wanted him to actually operate at a much higher level as we were kind of building the organization.
Right.
Now, typically what would happen is if I start getting more CXOs, with Sudeep also being, let's say, one of the CXOs, it would be difficult for him to actually
take that higher.
So it would be difficult for him to manage those people. Because founder, everyone understands founder is founder.
You have a...
Right, but if someone is CEO, someone is, let's say, CFO, someone is CHRO, then is he equal? Is he...
Right.
Can we report to him, or more important than reporting, what is the natural ordering of the organization, of any clan for that matter, right? Of any set of people or animal. There is a natural ordering. I'm saying that co-founder actually strengthens that natural ordering, which is the one that we wanted. And that was the intent for that, not to do any PR, not... Sudeep never needed it. No one ever needed it. So we are that way very honest, very open. We don't need, Sudeep does not need a co-founder title
Right.
to operate like a co-founder. He always operated like a co-founder.
Got it. Also understand, जब आपने बोला था कि आप बहुत interesting use of technology करते हैं in the entire Bluestone. Give me the most amazing or the most interesting applications of technology, whether it's in store or whether it's.
So I'll tell you something. So basically, every retail company or any retail company which has 200 stores has a team of merchandisers. So decide what goes where and who kind of manage the entire operation. We have 0 merchandisers in the entire company. From factory to store, it's all automated. What sells, what's going to sell, what needs to come out of the store, what needs to be sent to some other store. Everything is decided by machines.
So this is entirely inbuilt, or you have
inbuilt, and we don't use any external system. Everything is in-house. So for us, website, point of sale, order management, warehouse management, factory management, everything is in-house.
Got it. Any interesting piece of?
Imagine team of 4 people. Building and managing it. No, right now we have around I think 14 people. But,
Got it.
But 10 of them joined, let's say, almost a year back.
Wow. Any interesting piece of technology you use in manufacturing units? And and second thing is, how do you predict कि क्या demand आने वाला है इसमें? Because Myntra.
That we obviously do. If you are doing merchandising fully automated,
right?
A lot of that prediction is in place. I know conclusively if I put this particular design in this store, let's say continuously, if I put it for 365 days, how many times it will sell? I know that predictably.
How do you do that?
Data. It's all data.
It's all data. Is there also geography case? This हिसाब से there is also design. Can you give that insight also?
There are category level differentiations. For example, in Punjab, people would wear kada cloth more than, let's say, someone in Chennai. Mangal Sutras are different for every different state, every different part. So there are those preferences.
और ये preferences आपको data से ही पता चलती है, और how do you do that? How do you understand कि यार
some of these are very obvious. The rest actually comes out from regression. So the category level, the machine knows that, okay, the category. So if a design level differentiation does not point to a regional difference, for example, someone might like someone might like this kind of a jhumka, someone might like some other kind of jhumka.
Right.
But if jhumka is doing well in UP but not in Tamil Nadu as a category, then those kinds of regressions are easier to catch because you have broader data also. Code does all those things. It tells you that, okay, these are the differentiated ones and these are.
Got it. Sir, how did you got Ratan Tata sir on your cap TV?
So that was year 2014, I think. He had moved out of the active role in Tata Group. And I think we were not the only one, but he invested in a set of companies. We were the first ones we were the actual first company that he invested in. And then he went on investing in, I think, few more, maybe 8-10 more companies. So we got a reach out from a banker in Citibank, Madhur Devra, who is Paytm CFO right now. So Madhur reached out to us saying Mr. Tata wants to talk, and then I sat with him and we spoke for around 2 hours.
Okay.
And he's actually and he's a great listener. So he genuinely liked the way we are looking to build it. It's like very, very different and with no experience and so on. So he liked it and he said, fine, I will come in.
उसके बाद आपका कितनी बार interaction हुआ रतन सर से?
I think 3 or 4 times more I've met him.
What did you learn from him during those interactions? If you were to teach your learnings from Ratan Tata to your kids, what would you say?
The biggest trait that anyone who actually talks to him, even for 5 minutes, would see is humility.
Okay.
That definitely is there. And I think he had some very apt advice around a long-term build-ups. Essentially, I think, so maybe he saw that in some of the other companies also, but his point was built for long-term, don't just take short-term calls. That's the one that I remember, yeah.
Got it. Sir, IPO, as a founder, जब हम DHRP से फाइल करते हैं तो IPO के रीजंस लिखते हैं. And generally, बहुत सारी चीजें होती है. फिर यहाँ पर एक भी होता है general corporate purposes. You have to give return to your employees. You have to leverage all ESOPs, वो सब देना पड़ता है. But as a founder, why do you want to go IPO? Why do you want to do IPO?
So I think one of the biggest reasons. So two things I'll tell you. So one is essentially we are a company where private investors own a significant chunk of it, and that's how we have built it, let's say, over the last 10 to 12 years. Now, the capital needs returns, right? So that whether it's private or public. Taking out one investor or a set of investors, bringing in new investors, etc., is an ongoing process for any company where different investors have come at different times. right? So now just going public make it much easier for anyone to come in and anyone to go out, without me having to actually involve the entire company in a 6-month process just for a fundraising, and at times that also falling out. But but I'm saying so capital access to capital is a lot more because your stock is liquid. It's a currency. So that, and we need to do it. So had it been, let's say, a company which is owned 100% by me, then going IPO, I would not have, not at this juncture. I wouldn't have to. Okay. And I would not advise anyone. Everyone had their own choice. Secondly, our business requires capital or gold, whichever way. So, and I'm saying not just equity, but other lines of capital also. Going public actually makes a lot more capital accessible to us.
It gives credibility also to get more capital.
Credibility, and a lot of funds. So a lot of these vehicles have constraints that they can only give it to public companies, because public companies, by definition, are public. They have certain governance structure. They have certain information sharing, etc. It's just.
Got it. What's the best advice about IPO you have received? Because I'm sure you must be talking to a lot of founders who have done this process in the past.
I have.
But how are you teaching yourself? How are you learning about this process? How are you educating yourself about the process of IPO?
So my CFO is pretty well versed with that space. Rumit is his name. And he comes from equities market. So he has
done a lot of this in the past?
So he had been an analyst he started his career being analyst for JP Morgan back in 2007. So he had been in that evaluating public market companies and so on and so forth, knows what analysts like, what analysts don't like also. So I'm relying on him. So he's the one who's leading the charge. I'm not. I do what I'm told to do, but that's it.
And what's the best advice about IPO that you have received till now?
I think in general, almost everyone is advising to price it right and leave some money on the table, which I think is right.
Also, sir, maybe it's the right question to ask to your CFO, but I'll still go ahead. Process of deciding equity or debt or mixture of both. So, जैसा आप बता रहे थे कि IPO is one way of getting capital, and in business you need a lot of capital. पहले आपने कई बार इक्विटी लिया है, कई बार डेट लिया है, कई बार मिक्स ऑफ बोथ लिया है. हाउ डू यू डिसाइड एज अ फाउंडर कि मुझे अगर कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट है, शुड आई गो डायरेक्ट इक्विटी, शुड आई गो पूरा डेट, और शुड आई गो
मिक्स ऑफ दैट? Yeah, it all depends on the nature of the business. It all depends on the safety of capital.
Okay.
So essentially, let's say and it all depends on so debt to equity ratio. Essentially, what is it that you want to maintain at a company level? And so for certain businesses, maybe any amount of debt is wrong. Okay. For certain businesses, let's say like banks, they have a debt to equity of 1:8, which is the target ratios. So in our case, what happens is, so in general, I think if you're a loss-paying company, debt is a bad idea. In general, right? Because it sometimes cover your actual runway, and when you need it the most, it gets pulled back. Having said that, we have taken debt even when we're loss-making. But
why do you say? What was the reason of doing that then?
Gold. In our case, it's gold essentially. So gold is like 100% security. It's like I know that I want to increase inventory in my store. So gold chahiye. Now I can take a debt and increase that gold. If someone tries to pull it out, I can just melt that gold and settle it on that very day without risking the entire thing. Right? So for me, it's very fungible. In a way, so what I'm doing business on is an asset.
Oh, wow. This is interesting.
So in our business should be high on that ratio. So but typically, if in order to fund your P&L, or in order to fund, let's say, even balance sheet items, which have a potential risk, I would say equity is what we should go for. If it's totally secure, some asset, let's say if you're doing a land purchase, then you take debt against that land, and that's how you'll purchase as a business also.
Sir, आपने जो बताया था कि gold की जो rate है, cost of capital है, that is only 2%
per annum. Yeah,
per annum. Can a business leverage this fact? If I want
jewelry business always leverage this.
Can non-jewelry business leverage this?
They should not try to.
Why?
How would they leverage? The purpose of this is essentially that you put gold to use. Any business that puts gold to use can leverage it.
Okay.
But jewelry is the only business that puts gold to use. Otherwise, you'll change that gold to capital. But then you're carrying the gold gold rate, gold fluctuation risk.
But you can hedge the gold fluctuation risks, no?
That will be it'll be the same as cost of capital if you try doing it.
Prashant sir has been your board member
since the very beginning.
Since the very
biggest support.
Biggest supporter.
Biggest supporter of the business.
Tell us, if you were to interview him, what would you ask him?
So I think one of the strongest traits, or best traits that I like about Prashant is empathy, essentially.
Okay.
I think he's one of the persons who, so in our case, he's practically worked like a co-founder of the company. He's been that supportive, and not supportive, like very rationally supportive, and put a lot of weight behind us. And it's, so during those tough times, had Prashant not been one of the pillars of support, we would have died for sure. And I think ours is not the only company. If you look at Swiggy, if you look at Urban Company also, there's a few other companies which are in hyper-competitive space and which had actually gone through that one cycle of tough times. Prashant had generally been very, very supportive. So I think if any question that actually brings that out and his thought process on how to do that.
What do you think? What could be the right question to nudge him in that direction?
I think you can ask about, not in our case, but I think those, so in hyper-local, so this food delivery was a highly competitive space. There are at least 50 companies in that. And the services business was also hyper-competitive. Right? And in both...
Urban
Company, one, but there was that, I don't know Ninja Card, but there was Tiny Owl. So like if you go actually, if you look at 2015-16, every VC had one bet on these two sectors.
Yes.
And there are 50 VCs, 50 companies, 50 VCs, 50 companies. But in both these hyper-competitive sectors, most of the other folks were very quick to pull the rug off when Prashant kept on supporting.
That was the reason these companies support. That can be a reason.
Sectoral bet was not wrong for anyone. But one cycle of tough times, and everyone thought that their bet was wrong, and they pulled it off. Now, the reason why they all felt it was wrong was because it was hyper-competitive. So the real unit economics were not even clear. Right? So logically, if you think...
Aapke cap table pe you have Zomato, Dipinder sir, you have Nikhil sir, you have Amit sir from Car Dekho.
You have Ranjan Pai also.
You have, yes, you have Ranjan sir also. You go to these folks to raise money, or these folks keep to you to give money?
Different scenarios.
मेरे को बताओ कैसे?
So after this Temasek deal fell off, then Vishesh called up all the contacts that he had. I started calling all the folks that we were talking with. I think most of the people are just followers, right? So, so I was being chased left, right, center when Temasek was going on. And when they did not do, I said, fine, you guys were keen at least. So I said,
first conviction.
I said, fine. So then I think the first one to then go ahead was InfoEdge Ventures, where Sanjeev Bichandani, where Vishesh has good relationship with them, and I think Temasek is 50% owner of that fund also.
Yes.
So Vishesh also pushed him. They looked at the business. Vishesh was asking them to put at least 50 crores so that...
But they can 100 crores they put in, I believe.
Now they've put in even more.
Okay.
But that was on the merit of the business, essentially. But okay, so Vishesh is nudging them for 50. They looked at the business and they said fundamentally it's a very cheap valuation for a very strong business.
Right.
They said we'll do 100. And then later they've done, I think, 150 or 125 after that also. So I think with that, everything started falling in place because once the leader is there, followers are aplenty.
So the first conviction आपको किसने दिखाया था? InfoEdge ने दिखाया था? Got it. And that happened because of Vishesh sir. Or Amit sir, Dipinder sir, or...
So Dipinder is close to InfoEdge. So they said, you come along.
ठीक है.
Ranjan Pai, I think Ranjan Pai is also very close to Prashant.
Okay.
So, and plus, I think he knew about the sector and so on. So I met him, really lovely guy.
Okay.
Very amazing person. So in one meeting, he was clear. So what I've seen, typically operators know, and they are very clear very quickly because they're used to taking decisions very, very instinctively. So that's how Mr. Ranjan Pai came. And Amit is our old friend. So Amit had, in fact, when that Temasek deal also fell off, he said, you don't worry, I'll do something. As in, we will do something. So, and we are flatmates, like from 20 years back in Bangalore. So that's how close we are. So that's how Amit came.
Nikhil? Sir?
Nikhil also, I met him a couple of times I had met him in the past also, along with Prashant. And then I think Prashant was talking to Nikhil. So Nikhil also came in. recently MS Dhoni has also come in. It's not announced yet.
अच्छा कैसे करा वो?
Inbound, all inbound.
और इसमें MS सर we have hosted all the companies जिसमें MS सर ने वो करा है, so जिनके ब्रांड एम्बेसडर है, so Indigo Paints we have done, E-Motor है अभी जो बोले जो कोयल उनका जो आया था, Homelane if you know, Homelane, Indigo, जितनी भी MS धोनी से जिनके भी ब्रांड एम्बेसडर है जिनके वो कर रहे हैं, so he's invested or he is coming as a brand ambassador.
No, this case is investment.
कैसे हुआ था? मतलब he reached out, his team reached out.
Family fund, the person who manages the family office, he reached out.
Okay, we want to invest. Got it. You're also trying to get him as a brand ambassador or something?
Not thought about it.
Peter Thiel says that if you need to create wealth or if you need to do something in startup, try to predict future. So have a sense of what are things will happen in future and then reverse, try to build for that. Do you have a thesis about the future? If you had to predict future, and this can be related to the industry that you are in or in life in general or India or world, what do you think? What are your thesis about future?
See, future I think is going to be extremely tricky. In fact, the elephant in the room is AI. Right? What's going to be the social impact of it? That I think is going to be huge. And I'm not talking from the perspective of kind of a business opportunity. I think in general, the kind of societal shift and the kind of shift it can bring into our lives. Already we are seeing the advent of deepfake, the advent of content or videos or that. So basically videos of a person saying something which is not even real, right? And I think tailoring of videos, tampering of videos, all those things were existent, but the degree of that was very limited.
Right.
But now if you can actually just write a prompt and say that, okay, make this person say this in this setting, our belief in that visual content, our brain, I think in the beginning it'll turn out to be very notorious because we are all used to believing in what we see in videos.
Right.
We believe it's a recording of a moment that has actually happened in somewhere, sometime. So I think for the real content also, and the realistic looking content also, our brains will actually develop that defense, which in a way is a good thing because then that can potentially end this whole fake media and fake news. If our brains actually naturally develop the defense for those. Right now they don't have defense.
Any other thing that you think, yaar, aisa hoga future?
I think it's a serious threat to existence, human existence. I honestly believe.
Why
I am in that camp.
Why do you say so?
Because I mean, if you look at historically about our evolution and so on, and if you look at what we did to, let's say, the species around us, it clearly points in the direction that our superior intelligence has issues living with, or not has issues. Actually, a superior intelligence has generally led to the
exploitation of other species.
Exploitation, definitely, and I'm saying elimination also in majority of the cases. We look at so many species that have gone extinct now. So if AI actually develops into a higher level intelligence, why would that history not be repeated? I don't have a very firm answer as to why that won't happen again. Just that this will be the only time when humans will be on the receiving side.
Makes sense. Got it. Thank you so much, sir. Really grateful for your time.